All right, so good evening. I'm going to start with today's class. I'm going to take advantage, please, of this time at the beginning to try to see the details that we are missing from the previous course so that we can continue working on because we have some topics to cover for this for this new course, and it's important to try to cover them all, right? So let me begin, please. I'm going to verify that I'm in the right place, just in case. Yes, all right, I am. Okay, good. So, let's go to the last part. All right, we had to work on some examples with must. I don't know if it was possible to work on that, but anyways, I'm going to be checking these first. All right, the idea was working on the introduction. I think you had one. All right, we're going to see what is okay and what needs to change. All right, so the milk of sorrow, I'm going to read your introduction. I'm going to give all the corrections, is the name of a Peruvian drama film that won the Golden Bean Award. But more than this, is a representative way of to express the disassociation or dissociation, you say over there, between two realities in the same country and the social differences of cultural groups in specific, the immigrant population of Ayacucho and the Lima Classes Society. As for the name of the movie, it describes the fear of breastfeeding and the abuse of women during the decade of terrorism in the country. Additionally, the metaphor can represent too these psychosocial consequences that lived all the years in the indigenous population. In addition, the indifference and low social inclusion is nowadays in the country. All right. Now, it seems to be interesting, but again, in the thing we had to do something, right? We had to highlight the steps for different colors, but all in all, in a general way, again, the information that we have here, it's interesting, but this is not going to be an introduction or an introductory phrase. All right. Why? Because we are actually missing many things over here. All right. This can be, yes, perhaps this is going to be a type of a catchy sentence because you are mentioning something that won, right? A golden bean award, and that can be appealing for some people. All right. But perhaps even this second part is going to be more interesting that it is representative, right? Or it represents something in specific. All right. And you're talking about two realities. But again, this is too long. I mean, here so far we have, this is just one part of one idea. This is a compound sentence. It goes over here, 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 and it finishes here. All right. You're telling me that that's the whole first idea, and that to be a hook or an interesting catchy sentence is not going to be the best way. All right. It is too long, and it's mentioning things that we shouldn't mention here in the introduction. The introduction should be short. You should go straight to the point, and you don't have to mention actually a lot of details because those details are going to be developed in the body. All right. Down below, I'm going to be working on these details, but as you're showing me this, you're telling me that this is your first element. Okay, you're telling me that this is this first step over here. All right, but again, we're going to see if that is correct. It seems that we need to change lots of details to make it like that. The second step, it's supposed to be this one over here. All right, additional information, but this is a new sentence. All right, with background information, with political ideas, with social ideas, or defining key terms, and so on and so forth. This is another one. In the way that you wrote this, you're telling me that perhaps this is going to be, or up to this point, but you're using a comma over there. So you're telling me, according to what you wrote, that this is your second idea. All right, that's what you're telling me. And finally, the thesis statement. All right, this is the main idea, the most important part of your introduction. You're telling me that this is your thesis statement. All right, because of the way you organize your ideas, you're telling me that more or less this is every part. All right, but again, analyzing, we have to see the following, Natalia. Now that you're here with me, we are going to see if this goes with the things that we should write in the introduction. I was saying that this first idea is too long for just the introduction, all right? At least for this type of essay, and for more complex essays, more complex works, it is going to be good, right? We give more ideas and more elements. But we have one idea, one compound sentence that is 3, 4 lines long, all right? That just for the first catchy sentence that produces curiosity is going to be a lot. It can be, again, here we said, right, 1 or 2 sentences, but usually they are going to be short and they are just going to mention something interesting to produce some curiosity in the reader. But that's going to be it. All the main information or the elements that you're mentioning here, for example, write a description of the groups, the immigrant population of Ayacucho and Lima classes society. That's going to be something that we are going to be able to describe later on, or even it can be part of your short background over here. All right, but that difference and the division between these steps has to be very clear. All right, for example, I'm going to give you one example and where we are going to compare if we have everything we need. All right, so I cannot put it over there, it doesn't matter. So it is here. So to write an introduction, first we're going to define a very general topic. All right, I don't know if I'm here. Yes, okay, I couldn't see my camera. So in my case, all right, I'm going to talk about something that I can mention right now. Okay, so it is going to be education. So the main topic is going to be education. All right, and my specific topic, all right, it is going to be online education. Okay, so that's my first idea. Now, related to this, I have to know what's the context that I'm going to mention. I will give you an example, I believe. It can be anything. All right, in this case, I'm going to be a social context, and it's going to be related to the pandemic. All right, then my thesis statement. This is the most important part. Sorry, statement. This has to be something that you say it's true and you have to prove it, all right? Different to other essays in this case, Natalia, here you cannot give a description of something. You cannot talk, for example, about a movie and just the movie. You cannot describe the movie in the essay. Uh, you cannot even analyze the movie because that's going to be a different type of work, all right? In this work that you're going to have in the TOEFL, for example, and many other different international tests, you don't have to give a descriptive essay. Just could be for the first one, when you are mentioning what the lecturer said first and then what you read in the reading passage. All right, but you are going to be there comparing 2 ideas related to one topic, right? So you're going to have one main topic and your job is going to be to present all the main ideas that you were able to hear and that you were able to read. Okay, that's one task in the TOEFL. But the one that we're practicing and that I mentioned this is for, this is called the persuasive or argumentative essay. It's the task in the TOEFL in which you only have one, right, a specific question or prompt that says something like this, right? Do you prefer this? Do you prefer blue or do you prefer red? And why, right? And this can be applied to that. But that's the type of essay we're going to practice. Now, for that type of essay, we are not going to give descriptions of anything. We are not going to give an analysis of anything. It's going to be more just saying something that you believe it's true and defending that idea. Okay, so in this idea that I'm going to develop now, my topic is education. the specific topic that I got is online education. The context is going to be social. I'm going to mention the pandemic, and the thesis statement is going to be, all right, training the teachers. All right, that's what I'm going to say over there. Now, I'm going to develop this. First, I need something interesting, catchy, right? That's going to be subjective, of course, all right? It's subjective. For some people, that's going to be catchy, interesting. For other people, that's just going to be something like, okay, I don't care. Because, right, it depends on what topic you are interested in. So I'm just going to give ideas, all right? I'm going to say something like, nowadays, online, all right, education is, all right, what can I say, online education that seems to be, okay, I'm going to start differently, all right, the whole world, sorry, seems to turn, or not seems, that's going to be weak, I'm going to say turns around online, all right, programs and activities, and it's impossible, all right, to think of, all right, to think of any, could be, what can I say over there? All right, so nowadays the whole world turns around online programs and activities, and it is impossible to think of any, all right, educational program that doesn't, all right, I'm going to now then mention details, all right, of any education program that doesn't involve or use, all right, the use of virtual platforms, let's say. Okay, something like that. I'm going to work on some corrections here, but the idea is that I believe, according to what I say, that this is going to be catchy, right? Let's say. But again, I'm going to try to work on one or two complete ideas, but I'm going to try to go straight to the point. I'm not going to give any extra information. I'm not going to detail anything. I'm not going to clarify anything yet, because this is just going to be the introduction. All right, so that's going to be my first idea. I'm introducing what I'm going to talk about, and I'm saying something that I believe subjectively, right? Because this is going to be always subjective, that this is going to be catchy for people that are interested in online programs or online education. Now, I said that my context is going to be social, and I'm going to talk about the pandemic, right? And here we have some words that we can use, but actually we can use any transitional word that we want from the list that I showed you, right? We have a word sheet. From that list, you can say anything, but I'm going to use one of these. It's, for example, to add up, but let's even say that it is going to be a good idea. I believe that in this case, actually, in fact, is going to be a better transitional word. Why? Because I'm going to try to give something that is a fact that happened and that makes this topic even more relevant. All right. In fact, because of the right recent pandemic, the number of online programs has, all right, increased. All right, I cannot give a specific, you can give, if you want the statistics, real information, but you're going to try to always save that specific information for the development, right? I'm doing this according to what they are saying in the persuasive or argumentative essay, right? We're going to follow all those rules. Then, of course, it's going to be up to you, Natalia. You can give numbers over here. It's not going to be incorrect. But what they say, it's to better save that information for the body paragraphs. Okay, so here I'm also going to be very general. So in fact, because of the recent pandemic, the number of online programs has increased, okay, exponentially. And I don't want to use this and again, so we're going to look for alternatives, okay? So because of the recent pandemic, the number of online programs has increased exponentially. Besides, all right, countries that were not used to using, all right, this type, it's going to be this type of programs are now, all right, accustomed to doing it. All right, let's say again, we can change many things, we can improve the words, the things that we are using, but that's going to be in my background information. Now, in the background again, one idea, two ideas that are going to give the background. That's why, as I was telling you over here, if you really want to mention these ideas of the immigrant population of Ayacucho and Lima Classes Society, that can be part of the next idea, but it has to be divided by a period. All right, before we start that one, it has to be divided by a period so that we can make the difference between your first idea, that is the catchy phrase, and your second idea, that is the background information. All right, we're going to keep going. Then we're going to ask the questions that we might have. So this is supposed to be now the second idea. All right, now finally, and this is the most important part. So I'm talking about online programs and activities right around the world, that it is impossible to think of any education or educational program, right? It is going to be better over here. So we can always recheck this to see what's the best option. Any educational program that doesn't involve, all right, the use of virtual platforms. In fact, because of the recent pandemic, the number of online programs has increased exponentially. Besides, countries that were not used to using this type of programs are now getting accustomed to doing it. All right. Now I have to say something that I believe. Okay, this cannot be descriptive, this cannot be analytic. It is going to be something that I believe it's important that people understand, and I have to convince them that I am right, that I am correct. All right, that's my job over here. So that's why in the last part it is advisable to give a type of conclusion. Thus, therefore, as a result, accordingly. Okay, so because I'm saying this, because I'm saying that online education is important, and because of the recent pandemic, it has increased a lot, right? Its usage, I have to say something about it. So therefore, because of all this information, short information that I gave, I believe the following, right? It is vital to, right? And what can I say? I talked about training teachers. This is just an example. You can say something more complex, something more interesting. But therefore, it is vital to train, right, the teachers and professors in charge of these programs to improve, right, the quality of the of online classes, all right, in every level, let's say. Okay, charge, of course, here. Okay, and that's it. Again, we can change many things, but that is my thesis statement. It's something that I believe that it's true related to that idea, and that I have to convince the authors that it is, in fact, true. I have to now write my 2 or 3 body paragraphs giving interesting, positive ideas, real information, real facts about the idea of training teachers and why it is a good idea to do it, and why it is going to increase even more the quality, all right, of education in this specific field, right? The digital education, the virtual or online education. All right, we're going to take a look at some of these suggestions, but that is more or less the logic that we have to follow. All right, now if we compare and then you ask me the question, hey, Natalia, anyways, I'm going to give corrections in terms of the words and so on. This is what we have to do. All right, so the first one, only a catchy idea that is going to be short one, max two ideas, but we're going to save the very specific details for later on. In the second place, background information, social context, or something that is just going to help us understand why the topic you are, well, talking about is important. And it has to be like the bridge, right? This is the bridge to go to the last part that is the most important, your thesis statement, okay? And in your thesis statement, you have to mention that something that has to be done in this specific case. In the TOEFL, of course, it's not going to be as specific. In the TOEFL, it's going to be way more easier. But you can use this structure to state your idea at the end, and you can say, therefore, or that's why I believe that blue is better than red. Okay, but it's going to be the same if you analyze. You're going to say something interesting about blue. So nowadays, right, blue is the best color for every person. Everybody's using blue in parties, and that's why blue is important. Right now, background about blue, right? In the 80s, right, people started using blue because they believe that it is a color that combines with everything. That's your background, right? And the thesis statement is that therefore it is important that we understand that this color represents something very important and it is in fact better than red, right? That's what we have to do. And you do that with any topic, with absolutely any topic. Here we can talk about this that can be more complex, but in the TOEFL, again, you're not going to get to have or develop too complex ideas. It's going to be simple, all right? But you have to be able to organize your ideas following this logic. All right, now I'm going to go to the specific details, but I want to know if you have any questions about this first general feedback, Natalia. Let me know, please.
No, I can understand very well the structure of the paragraph because for me it was a little hard to build this paragraph because I don't know how can to organize the information. I think that if I put first topic specific topic context thesis statement, I think it's more easy for me to structure the paragraph with sense because when I was writing this paragraph I don't understand in general the logic when I was writing. I think that it's better if I put uh, these points for develop later.
Great, great. It's good that now it is clear, Natalie. Yes, and actually that was just right away to see how you were able to develop that idea. But yes, it's something that we are going to be, well, doing little by little. But it's great if now it is clear with this example and with the logic, right? I showed you with the colors. If you remember that example with the colors, it's going to be easy. All right, any essay is going to be very easy. Remember something interesting about your choice, a little bit of context about your choice, and a conclusion saying why your choice is important and why people have to understand that your choice is important. All right, and then you just spend the two, usually you're just going to write two body paragraphs. Okay, in the theory they say that it is better and it's a rule that we have three body paragraphs, but because of the time and the length that you have in the TOEFL and other international tests, only two are going to be enough. All right, but what are you going to develop in those two body paragraphs? That's going to be your next job. First, you're going to restate your introduction. All right, that's going to be for next class, or yes, it can be for Monday or the following Wednesday. All right, once we have the introduction that is clear, we are going to see the body paragraph together. All right, and you're going to give me two body paragraphs. And again, the body paragraphs are just describing in detail what you mentioned in your introduction. If you're saying that blue is better than red, you have to show me in the first paragraph one study that shows why blue is better than red, right? So first of all, it is important to talk about Harvard University that had a study, right, that proved that blue is better than red, right? And then you show evidence, right? According to this professor, that says the following, right? In quotations, you mention what he says about blue. and you paraphrase, right, it is proven that then this color is better than this color, right? And in the second paragraph, it could be something related to what? If you're talking about first study, then you can talk about the benefits of using this color. Right. Second, I would like to talk about the benefits of using blue instead of red. Right. If you use blue, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And according to this expert that says the following about using blue, this blah, 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 blah. Right. And you give the conclusion. Right. And the conclusion of everything, because every body paragraph, as you're going to see later on, has its own conclusion, then the general conclusion is just going to be a summary of everything. You're going to restate your thesis statement, right? As we were able to see, it is true that blue is in fact better than red. We were able to analyze a study in Harvard, and we were able to see the benefits, right, that using this color has in general. And because of that, you restate once again your idea. And then you give a final reflection, and that's going to be quite it. All right. Of course, it can be more complex, but we're going to see the step by step. But first, let me give you some corrections here. And then again, for next week, we restate this so we can go to the topic today. So you are talking about the title of a movie. It's good that you use quotation marks, but you cannot divide the subject from the verb using a comma. Okay, that's going to be incorrect. Even if you are just putting emphasis on that idea, this is your subject, right? The milk of sorrow. So it cannot be divided by using a comma over here. It is going to be directly related to that one. All right, is the name, because this is again subject and verb. That's the first one. Then, if you mention, right, the nationality or something related to that, it is going to be with capital letter in this case. All right, of the Peruvian drama film. Then, good, but more than this, yes, you're using the commas also, I believe, correctly, is a representative way of to express no, right? Remember, or you use the preposition of, or you use the infinitive to. All right, but not the two of them, right? It's a representative way of expressing, or if it is going to be the purpose, it is going to be to express directly. Okay, it's a representative way to express, but never, all right, it's never going to happen of to, all right, only to express or of expressing, one of those. All right, but again, here it seems that this is the purpose, so it is going to be to express the dissociation between two realities. Now here, let's take a look, because you're saying between two realities in the same country and the social differences. All right, I believe that here also perhaps between, all right, because you are saying dissociation between two realities in the same country and the social differences, right? Let's take a look at the suggestion from this. It says in cultural in specific, in cultural groups in specific. Oh, yes. So in my suggestion, I would recommend those two. Once again, between or among could be among, that it's an alternative for between. Or if you're talking about inside those groups, you can use Grammarly suggestion, that is in cultural groups. All right, so I'm going to set those two ideas, and you set the one that you believe is going to work better for you. All right, among, sorry. Okay, so among similar to between, or in if you're talking about inside that idea. Okay, then as for the name, it describes, yes. Additionally, no, here, just punctuation detail here. Additionally, this metaphor can represent two. Okay, it is good that you're using two in that way. The psychosocial consequences that lived, all right, all these years in the indigenous population. And in addition, all right, so this is part of just one idea. Yes, it is just one idea. It is good, but my recommendation here would be, because we are already using and, but actually no, it's okay if you want to put emphasis, right, and in addition, it is not incorrect to do it in that way. The indifference. So, but let's take a look at what's the suggestion. Yes, no, this is just a spelling mistake with the D over here. All right, and there you go. So I believe that's going to be it. And nowadays in the country. Now, this is the last detail. Nowadays, as I was using it here, it can be always at the end. Actually, I was not using it that way, but at the end, because the order is going to be subject, verb, object, place, and time. So if the time is not at the end, it can be at the beginning with a comma, or in the middle, right, as you were doing over here with two. It can be in the middle, but in between commas. All right, so if we want to avoid the overusage of commas, we can move this, all right, um, present in the country nowadays. And if we set nowadays at the end, we are not going to need any other, let's say, clarification over there. Rather, let's take a look at that. There you go. So that's it in general, Natalia. I don't know if you have any questions about those details so that we can go then to the today's topic. Let me know, please.
Only about the connectors, the connector words of the paragraph. I'm not sure if in the purple lines, additionally, it's a good connector for the last part of the paragraph, because I think it's more than present your own idea. No, is when you put another idea. So I think maybe that's incorrect too, when
Okay.
I put additionally this metaphor.
Yes, it depends because as I'm reading again, this of course it's not following right the structure that we need to follow because in the last part we should have a conclusion. But as you are saying, right, this metaphor can represent two the psychosocial consequences that lived. So it seems that you're adding information, and actually that's going to depend on you. If you get to show this idea, show using additionally, it can be good because actually that's going to be something that you decide. All right, but let's take a look just in case if it is going to be in general incorrect, because you're saying, as for the name of the movie, it describes right the fear of breastfeeding and the abuse of women during the decade of terrorism in the country. Additionally, this metaphor can represent two. So you are adding information. It doesn't seem to be incorrect because it's the way in which you're doing, and it seems to be adding something as well. Of course, it is incorrect in our structure, right? For our structure, that is incorrect, right? Because you are still adding information, and this seems to keep adding some background, but it's a lot of background or explanation about that movie, right? So in terms of the structure that we need, yes, that additionally over there is going to be incorrect. But when you are saying two and you are adding something else, it seems again, at least in terms of just the logical connection between those two, that it is working because you are mentioning besides right describing this fear, you're describing what else it represents, right? The psychosocial consequence that it was these years, and so on and so forth. And in addition, right, indifference of flow. So you are talking about the movie. You are saying what it represents in a certain way and what's that metaphor in other words. So you can change that, of course, but it's going to be up to you. Just by reading that, Natalia, it seems to be good. But again, if we compare that to what we have to do, it is going to be incorrect because we need something different at the end, right? But I don't know if you have questions about that or any other details.
No, that's right.
Okay, so let's remember, please, then for Monday or for Wednesday, all right, that's going to be according to the time that you got. We are going to restate this idea. Of course, here we will perhaps we have to change the topic, right? It could be interesting, but you can talk about even one topic that you are well developing here. If you want, you can talk about breastfeeding, right? If you want, you can talk about I don't know, indigenous population addition. So social inclusion, for example, that can be one topic, but of course that can be complex. But the idea is that you grab only one topic, and again, you follow these three steps. I'm going to mention that once again to finish: a catchy idea about that topic, some background about that topic, and something that you believe it's important to do related to that topic. Okay, in my case, again, it was giving or a preparation training course to teachers and professors in order for them to use these digital platforms in a better way to improve the quality of education. That's my idea, right? And I have to show why. For example, what's the benefit of teachers knowing how to use these platforms? How is it going to increase the quality of education, right? So we have to think of all of those possibilities in order to give your thesis statement. Okay, so again, at the end of your introduction, one thesis statement that is something that you believe and that you are going to prove in your entire paragraph. All right, that's why the last part, this element over here, is the most important part of your entire essay. All right, the last idea in the introduction. Okay, so with that said, we are going to go now to the topic that we were developing. If you remember, it was causative verbs. So I don't know what you remember about these details, Natalia. We were talking about causative verbs and we mentioned them and we were already giving examples with one of them, right? What do you remember about this topic?
And I remember there are verbs when you use uh, for mm, that influence in another person. I remember 5 verbs: make, let. I don't remember the rest. I only remember make, and an example could be the professor make me pay attention on the details of my paragraph.
All right, good. Just one detail over there, the conjugation, right? Is it going to be the professor make me or makes me or made me? Which one is going
Okay.
to be better?
Makes me.
Makes me. Okay, so in general, right? If that's a general idea that you're given is correct.
Mm-hmm.
The professor, right, makes me in general, right, pay attention to write some feedback related to my paragraph, for example. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but remember in that one, if it's a direct and specific obligation, it is going to be in that case, I believe, as it was only one situation and one feedback for one paragraph, it would be better perhaps that we use that in past, right? So the
Made.
professor made me,
Mm-hmm.
so made, because make with professor is not going to be correct, right? So makes or made. Good. But again, it is good. Influence on other people, correct? Two of the ones that we got, yes, are make and let. That is also correct. And your example was also good, right? Just the conjugation, but everything else seems to be good. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Let's review once again. Remember that we have to decide what verb we have to use, Natalia, depending on what? Depending on the context or the type of relationship between those people,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're talking about boss, employee, mother, son, right? What verb do we use? Make, right? Again, not always, but make usually, because we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about obligation, requirement, right?
Mm-hmm.
My boss made me complete all the reports for tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
for the following day. So I didn't have an option, right? It was my obligation. So I had to do it, right? My boss. Or my mother, right? My mother, it can be, if I'm younger, I can say my mother made me eat all the vegetables, right? Before playing, right? So it was an obligation for me. I had to eat all the vegetables before playing, right? So that's the idea. Make is obligation. Now, have remember, try not to translate, okay? Here, the translation can create confusion. Why? Because we don't have the verb have in Spanish in this way, okay? Here, the verb have doesn't mean possession. Here, the verb have doesn't mean what we know that it means. Okay, it's just another way to say make, but it is related to requirement as well, responsibility, or what I always say, when you pay someone, not because I'm your boss, because I'm getting a service from you. Okay, for example, if I want to paint my house, right, I'm going to paint a professional painter to paint my house, right? In that case, I'm going to use have because I'm not the boss of that painter. We're just exchanging services, right? And that's going to be temporary. Or when you go to the hairdresser, right, or to the hairstylist, you want to do your hair, right? You want to cut your hair, so you go to the hair salon, right, to the hairdresser, and you receive the service. Or again, just one more that can be when girls, right, they want to do their nails, right? They want to work on some manicure, so they go right to the person in charge and they obtain the service. But again, it's not that they are the boss of that person, right? There's not that connection, boss and employee, just temporary exchange of services. If that's the case, we use have. Okay, and the way we use have, it is exactly the same as make. Okay, so remember my recommendation, don't try to translate have differently. Here you have to understand that have is another way to say make, but it is a little bit weaker. And for specific situations as this, when you pay someone, when you have a temporary contract, when you're giving a responsibility. All right.
Mhm.
Let's these three examples, please.
Okay. I am here with the last part. Okay. Meaning, give someone the responsibility to do something. Structure, subject, have, person, group, verb, base form. We had a painter paint our apartment. Mary always have a hairdresser do her hair. Paul will have a mechanic fix his car.
Okay, there you go. All right, so here you can say we made a painter paint our apartment, but if you say we made, it's here like it's an obligation for the painter, right? And you are obliging the painter. You say, right, hey, you have to do it. So that's not the case, right? That's why instead of make, we use have. And again, have in this case has the same meaning as make, but we use it in this specific context. All right. In other words, you're saying here, Natalia, we are paying a painter to paint the apartment for us. Okay, that's what you're saying in other words. Or we are hiring this professional to do this for us. Okay, that's what you're saying. So instead of saying all that, you simply say, I had in the past. So in the past, I paid this painter to paint my apartment. But again, in this expression, we don't say all that. We simply say, I had a painter paint our apartment. That's past. In present, if you're paying this now, if you're getting that professional now, you can say, right now, I'm having a painter paint my apartment. Okay, that's in present because remember, have in this case doesn't mean possession. It's just another way of saying making or to make. In the future, right, tomorrow I will have a painter paint our apartment. All right. In present perfect, I have had or we have had a painter paint our apartment. Okay, it can work in any tense, in absolutely any tense. And again, if you want to translate that idea, translate it as make in your head, but take into account that it is not obligation here. It is to get someone temporarily, to pay someone, to have a contract with someone just for one service, get that service, and it's done. Okay, the responsibility is done. And again, it can work in any tense. That's what I can add. Now we're going to try to work with examples, but I don't know if you have any questions about have before that, Natalia. Let me know, please.
Only always is for only for a service of another person that are doing for you.
Yes. When you are hiring, getting a service, or when you are giving a responsibility to someone in specific. In those cases. But it is not an obligation, right? You are not working with obligation because have, for example, it is not going to be for mother son, right? Or for, it can be for boss employee, but only if the boss gives a very specific responsibility to someone, it can be. All right, but mainly again, when you have that specific contract, that is not necessarily an obligation for the other person, is because you are paying that person and you are getting a temporary service. So when that's the case, have is going to be the best option, better than make.
Mhm.
All right. So in the chat, Natalia, you can find the new link because remember, we started a new course. So we have a new link. This is the new link. Let's go please to this link and we are going to write 4 ideas so far. Okay, 2 ideas with make, showing obligation, right? You can talk about again a teacher, student, mother, son, boss, employee, anything that you can be, it can be related to obligations, all right? Let's say quotation marks. And 2 examples with have, please, Natalia, showing that you are getting a service from someone and that person is going to do something for you, okay? Because you're giving him or you're giving her the responsibility. And the only rule, the only condition, Natalia, is that we have to use different tenses, right? So the first one is simple present, the next one is going to be simple past, the following one is going to be simple future, and the other one is going to be present perfect, for example. Okay, so 4 different tenses, please, Natalia. If you have questions, let me know. If not, we're going to have 3 to 4 minutes and we check everything, please.
Okay.
All right, good. I'm going to leave it here. Okay, so we're going to be finishing those ideas, Natalia. We're going to check them, and we're going to work with get and very rapidly with let and help, because they are extra verbs that are not in fact a causative verbs, but they are in this group. All right, the most important
Mhm.
ones are make, have, and get. If those three are clear, then you know about causative verbs. Let and help are extra elements that, but we know how to use them. It's just going to be a reinforcement.
Uh-huh.
All right, so let's take a look at what you got, please.
Okay. I read, for example.
Yeah, yes, please. Let's read the four of them.
Okay. My colleague made me call for asking more details about the job. I have made the seller explain more about the product. They had a wedding planner to organize their party. You will have a taxi driver for moving around the city as a part of your contract.
All right, thank you very much. Few details. In general, I believe that the topic is clear and it is good. Only few details, all right? First, I'm going to recognize you have here the rule, right? We have to follow the rules, and we're going to see if we are following. In the two cases, we always use the verb make or have plus one object that is a person or a group of people plus the verb in the base form, right? So we have it correct. My colleague made me call. You are saying that your colleague made you do that, so it was an obligation for you, right? It is possible. Yes, it is possible, right? But you have to understand that it is an obligation. Now, remember that if you can answer the question why for this idea, then for is not the best option. The best option is purpose, and it's infinitive, right? So why did your colleague make you call you, right? Or call you to ask more about details about the job, right? So if we can ask the question why, then the thing we have to use is not for and then ing. We have to use a infinitive,
Mm.
all right? Because it is going to be the purpose. It's why you are doing, all right, this action. So to ask
Mhm.
about more details, because you're saying to ask more details about the job, okay, to ask for more details about the job over here.
Mhm.
All right, but this is the main idea, always infinitive over there. Then I have made the seller explain more about the product. Yes, perfect. I have no observations here. You have the elements and we are following everything in detail. They had a wedding, great planner, very good. But here we have one little mistake, right? The infinitive. We are not going to use infinitive after have. It is only going to be the base verb, right? So have plus the object plus the base verb. All right, that's
Mhm.
going to be the correction over here. So it has to be the base form only, not to organize, just organize. Okay, this one here as well. And then the last one, you're right, you will have a taxi driver for moving around the city as part of your contract. Can be good, but remember here we're using causative verbs. And to use causative verbs, we need the verb plus one object plus the base form of the verb. But here you are not saying what the taxi driver is going to do for you, right? You're just saying how you're going to use it, yes. But here remember to use here the causative verb. In Italian, we need the verb, we have it, plus the object that is a person or a group, plus the base form of a verb. Okay, so that is what we're missing. We are missing the base form of a verb to have this and to make it a real causative verb. So for example, it can be, we will have a taxi driver drive or get us, all right, around the city as a part of your contract. It can be, yes, it depends on you, right? But this has to be clear. We are using here one of these verbs that has to be in the base form, because this is the action that the taxi driver will do for you. Okay, the action that this person or this group of people will do for you has to be also in the base verb. All right, as in this case, explain, as in this case, call, as in this case, organize. All right, so one more time. You will have a taxi driver drive us or get us around, or take us even over here. It's going to be better, perhaps. Okay, one of those. Drive us, get us, take us around the city as part of your contract. But that's it. I don't know if you have any questions about these details, Natalia. Let me know, please.
The action always is about you, or you have to, because in the third
No, actually,
example is different. It's about the other person, the other
yes,
people.
no, it's always about the other person, right? If you realize, it's my colleague made me call. So who's calling is you, right? Because you're the object. Here, made the seller explain. So who's explaining? The seller is explaining, right? They had a wedding planner organized. So who's organizing? The wedding planner, right? You will have a taxi driver drive us. So who's driving us? The taxi driver, right? So actually it's not you, it depends who you are mentioning there, and you can do it. And it depends. If you're making that person do something for you, yes, it's for you, but it can be for anybody, right? You can say here, I have made the seller explain my friend, right, more about the product. So you are making that for your friend, right? Or they had a wedding planner organize the party of their parents, for example, right? So that's for their
Because in
parents.
because in the fourth example, I was talking about the terms of contract of other people for hiring, for example. And I have is like an explanation of the condition of the job. This is the context. I am saying to the other people, to the other person, you will have a taxi driver for get you maybe around the city as a part of your contract. Is possible?
Okay, yes.
Because
So
okay.
you only say you over there then. You will have a taxi driver drive you around the city as part of your contract. So yes, I was just saying as right as an example, but you can say whatever you want over there. But if you want to keep it with you, it's correct.
Okay.
All right. So the only detail is instead of using the preposition, right, for moving you right around the city, is going to be a taxi driver drive you or get you or take you around the city as part of your contract, and then it's going to be correct. All right. There you go. Good. Now, only let me see if we're going to use some extra time. Yes, let's use just a couple of minutes to see this last detail, and with this, the most important part of the presentation is done. Get. All right. Get is the last most important verb. Why? Get is the same as make and the same as have, but it has one difference. That is weaker. Is not for obligation, is not for contract, is not for responsibility. You only use get when you convince someone, when you persuade someone to do something for you. And now here in this case, Natalia, right, different to make and have, here you use infinitive, okay? As you can see here, Lourdes gets her son to help her, but not because Lourdes is obliging her son, is making her son do something. No, she convinced her son, right? Something like, please, right? If you help me with the dishes every day, I'm going to give you ice cream, right? So it's not obligation. She's convincing her son. Melissa will get her boyfriend to buy an expensive ring next year. So it's not obligation. She's not paying her boyfriend, right? She's just convincing his boyfriend, right? If you do this for me, I'm going to do this for you. And the same, the last one, I have gotten my neighbor to help me carry my suitcase, right? So please help me with my suitcase and I am going to help you with this, right? So again, it's convincing, persuading. Or if you could help me with this, I am going to be like this and like that. So whatever that is not obligation, whatever that doesn't involve money, right? Or a payment or a contract or responsibility, but it's only convincing or persuading, is going to be with get instead of make and instead of have. But the logic is the same, that there's a person that does or will do something for another person. That is going to be the same. Again, the only difference then, Natalia, is that here you use the infinitive and again, the meaning that it has. I don't know if you have questions about that. Let me know so that we can write just two more examples and finish with that. Let me know, please.
No, I understand.
All right, so let's go to the document one more time, please. Let's write two examples. Let me know when you're done. We check and we are done with that.
Okay.
All right, let's read please what you got. I give my feedback to finish.
And my friend gets me to travel with her to another city. Maria got his husband to move to a new house.
All right, okay. Two details, all right? One thing that we have to change, right? Remember, got is the past simple of get, and the past simple doesn't have the S of the third person, right? So only Maria got, right? Maria got his, but also his is not going to be good, right? For Maria is going to be here, right? So Maria got her husband, right? Moved to a new house. So yes, it is correct, right? You're saying that Maria convinced, persuaded her husband to move to a new house. It is correct. Okay. All right. Now, in number 5, it is correct grammatically speaking, Talia. But if you say my friend gets me to travel with her to another city, it can be correct, but you're telling me that that happens frequently, that that's a routine for you. All right. If this is a routine for you, that every time your friend gets you to travel with her to another city, it is correct. Uh-huh. But if you are just talking about one time that she's doing this now, use the present continuous, right? My friend is getting me to travel with her to another city. That's one option. Or it can also be simple past, but as you use the simple past, you can use the present perfect. My friend has gotten me to travel with her to another city, right? But what do you say? Is it something better, or are you talking about a routine, something that your friend does every time?
No, it's better if I use has gotten.
Exactly. So present perfect because it's also past, right? It's indefinite past. So
Mhm.
has gotten, it's going to be indefinite past because you're not saying when, right? And if you're not saying when, it's also a good option. So correct. My friend has gotten me to travel with her to another city. And we're using infinitive in all the cases, so it is correct. That's my only set of observations, Natalia. Again, in general, I
Mhm.
see that it is correct. Just take that into account. Make and have always with the base verb, right? Made me call, made the seller explain, has a wedding planner organize, have a taxi driver take, right? Always the base verb. Only if you use get, you use infinitive. Has gotten me to travel, got her husband to move, right? That's the only
Mhm.
thing you have to take into account. And also, if it is obligation, may. If it is responsibility because you have a contract, you have money, you have payment, have. And if it's just convincing, persuading, like, come on, do it, yes, please do it. Okay, right? Then it's going to be get. All right? If you take those elements into account, then you're not going to make mistakes with causative verbs. I don't know if you have any last questions to finish with that, please, Natalia. Let me know. I'm going to share the survey. So what do you say? Any questions or any last comments?
Eh, Only a question for remembering. What is the tense of has gotten?
This is the present perfect, right? We call it
Ah,
the indefinite past. Uh-huh.
okay.
Remember that in the present perfect, you always use have or has plus the main verb in the past participle, right? I have
Mhm.
gone to the party. I have been in the park. She has bought a new dress. We have started a new project, right? They have seen the new, I don't know, platform, for example, right? Anything that has the auxiliary have or has plus the verb in the past participle is the present perfect, but remember, present perfect is past, right?
Mhm.
Indefinite past.
Okay.
Mhm. Good. There you go. So that's it. I hope you have a good night. You enjoy your weekend. Remember, please, on Monday, we're going to continue working. If you have your paragraph for Monday, we check it on Monday. If not, for Wednesday. All right. But when you have it,
Yes, and
I'm going to, yeah, tell me.
I have to finish the examples with must have. I forgot for today.
Exactly. That's also a thing, right? Two examples because they have to be a conclusion for the past, right? So
Mhm.
you have that left. The two examples with must have, the paragraph that you have to write, redo to make it
Mhm.
in the organization that we need to use. And according to what you do, we check that at first at the beginning and then we continue. All right,
Yes.
there you go.
Okay.
So again, have a good
Perfect.
weekend. See you on Monday then.
Thank you. Good night.
You're welcome. Bye bye. Good night.
Bye.